Wow. Got awfully quiet in here all of a sudden. Let me guess. We got somebody around here that wants to drink something made from agave? I don't know. Just throwing it out there. You guys having a good weekend so far? How many people saw me last night but I couldn't see them? Wow. It's been a heck of a weekend, and I have to say that Tales is an amazing event because it brings all of us together in one place, which is enough right then. And with that statement, we are all in one place at one time, sharing information, sharing ideas. It's mind-blowing, and sharing a few drinks along the way. Today we have a very, very special moment, if you will. Many of you have been following the seminars that we've been doing at Tales from year to year about the plant, about agave, about terroir, about tequila and mezcal, and about pre-Columbian distillation, and we've covered so many different things, but today we're blowing the doors off of everything and we're taking it to a place we've never even imagined going. As a matter of fact, a place we couldn't go until we had the research that we have now. And for the first time ever at Tales, we're not going an hour and a half, we're going 3 hours. You are obviously as sick as we are if you're putting yourself in a room for 3 hours with us. That said, we've got plenty of good things to drink, so we should get through this okay together. By the end of this, I think we'll all be much happier than we are now. So we're going to start talking about this, because that's what it's all about. Now, we have a tendency to call this agave, or agavechea, which literally means royalty or nobility. It's known by the Native Americans as something called a maguey. And if you go anywhere in Mexico and point at that plant to a Native American, they will say mezcal. Because that's what the plant is known as, because that's what comes from it. And today we are going to break down the plant and talk about the importance of terruño or terroir in our agave-based spirits. We're going to talk about how it changes and where it comes from. We're going to talk about sustainability of this plant and the issues that we face. We're going to talk about the plight of the humidor and what's going on in the industry right now. And I've got the most amazing panel on the planet to bring you that information, so I promise you, I will not be long. I'm just going to facilitate today. But understand something, Americans. We represent 78% of the export of tequila from Mexico. We drink it, we serve it, we make cocktails out of it. So we are directly responsible for the future of this plant and for nurturing the education to make sure that people understand what they're really drinking, what they're really getting, and what to drink, and how to enjoy it best. 78% of the tequila, and the mezcal percentage is even higher than that. Today we're going to talk about cocktails and how to express terroir in your cocktails. How to design cocktails around the terroir to bring the terroir forward, so that you that work in the industry can actually apply this information to your craft. And of course, as always today, we will learn by tasting, because that's what we do. We learn by tasting. And we are going to taste a lot of really, really cool stuff. So, amazing spirits, later cocktails from them, but let's go back to this. Because today's seminar is going to focus on this, the plant, okay? Everybody knows where it comes from, but not all of our consumers do. And it's absolutely essential that we start thinking this way, and we will hear it throughout the seminar. Hecho en Mexico, made in Mexico, 100% agave, that plant. Because it all comes back to the plant. And there are lots of different species. They're all different kinds. They grow from Oaxaca to Sonora, Jalisco, Michoacan, all around the country. We got to discuss this thing because it's gotten very confusing. You know, for a long time we would say that tequila is to mezcal as cognac is to brandy, because mezcal is the category of all spirits made from the agave plant and tequila comes from a specific place. We still can say that, but you can't teach that way anymore, you educators out there, because that's not exactly the truth anymore. You see, now there are actually 7 states that have DOs for mezcal production. And the word mezcal, the very term mezcal, now implies, by definition, that it must be one of those states, and Jalisco ain't one of them. So, and the tequila producers will tell you straight out, well, some of them, not all of them, that you cannot call their product mezcal anymore because it's tequila, and that's different. So again, it's going to come back to the plant, the species, and the terroir. Check this out. Now you might say, oh, that's got to be in Oaxaca. That's got to be those high elevated guys. That's in Jalisco. That's in the lowlands. Don't use that term ever again, please. That's in the valley of tequila at the volcano. Okay? That's right on the sides of the volcano, and look at the steepness of those slopes. Very important to understand that this plant grows all around Mexico from all different kinds, 400 different species. There are something like 28 now that are allowed by the Mexican government to be made into some form of distillate, whether it's bacanora or sotol or mezcal or tequila. And from that, 17 of them are in the DO of Oaxaca alone. And you can see it's absolutely stunning and grows in a lot of different places. And look at all the different varietals. Oh, I better not go too quickly past that one. That'd be Tobala. Just take a moment of silence for that. Thank you very much. Okay? I tend to get carried away. So all of the different agaves. Now, just very quickly, to make sure we're all on the same page. We assume a very educated group here. We figure anybody who's going to sit for 3 hours and learn about tequila and mezcal with us must already know their stuff pretty well. Just want to make sure everybody's up to speed. You understand that we have to somehow get that plant into the liquid. So first of all, we have to have that guy, a humidor or a palanquero, harvesting it in some way to get it down to this, which is, of course, the corazon, which is the piña, as we call it, which is what we are going to somehow turn that wood into sugar. So somehow we've got to roast it. And we might be using ovens, but then again, we might have to go old school. But there are a lot of different ways to roast. Eventually, we will be able to then extract sugars. Old school in Jalisco versus perhaps, really old school in Jalisco. For those of you who haven't been at one of our seminars before where we've discussed pre-Columbian distillation, let me just tell you that this dates back to 200 years before the Spanish arrived. So we're guessing that maybe they had something figured out before those alembic stills showed up. I don't know, if you don't believe that, maybe you believe fermentation vats that look like that. Or that, perhaps, done in stone. This is a culture of fermentation and distillation that dates back hundreds and hundreds of years. The Spanish, yes, brought alembic stills. No question about it. We know that. And there's one now. And there's another one. But this one's been in use for 500 years. Do you think the Spanish brought that? I'm guessing not. Just throwing it out there. Now, you're supposed to know all of this stuff. You do, right? You know where it comes from, you know how it works. So we're not going to spend time on that, except in how it affects what's going on in the glass, which is absolutely important. And you'll meet all of my panel members in just a moment because they're all amazing and they're all going to speak now about different areas of this. Because in the beginning, it was all about the plant. In the beginning, it was about Native Americans using that plant as their daily life. Sustenance. This is the center of their universe, okay? This plant, as a matter of fact, this is a baptism ceremony where they're actually rubbing the agua miel on the lips of the baby because it has some of the same enzymes as mother's milk, leche de madre, right here. That's an outdoor baptism ceremony using the agave plant. And here you will notice the agave fronds throughout and the representation of agave. And we'll talk about the mysticism, we'll talk about the spirituality, but understand that in the very beginning, it wasn't about frat party margaritas, guys. And as a matter of fact, this culture really didn't consume alcohol for fun. It was for spirituality. It was for religious purposes. It might have been for soldiers going into battle. When we're talking about whether it be the Aztecs, the Mixtecs, the Toltecs, the Zapotecs, we're talking about a culture that embraced this and worshipped it and respected it, and by the way, still do, in a way that, unless you've been there and experienced it, well, we'll try and bring some of that to you in just a moment. It all began with this. Because up at 8,000 feet above sea level, where there is rain for 2 months of the year and static electricity in the air, this conductor is bringing static electricity down into the plant, and we have this pulque, or lightning nectar, the gift from the gods. So, we'll start there. The spirituality, the culture, the history, the heritage of the plant. And to do that, I'm going to introduce a man who knows a little bit about culture, who's being one of the most successful artists in the world, or most respected is what I should say actually, by his peers and by the art community, but most of us know him as the guy who brought us the Del Maguey Single Village Mezcals. We also know him as the guy who almost single-handedly built mezcal as a category in the United States, and now fortunately has a lot of really good friends, fans, and other producers helping to build that category so that we can benefit from it. So, and today, are you going to introduce Paciano?
I will.
Today we actually have brought for you one of the greatest growers and distillers of agave from Oaxaca as well, to join Ron. But to tell us more about the culture, the spirituality, the origins of this plant, let me introduce Mr. Ron Cooper from Del Mega Single.